All right, and we are live. It's the Live Drive Jive Archive with your host, Frank Monday. Yay! I hope you're doing well. This 10th of September, it's a Friday, 2021. September is the 9th month on the calendar, but it's actually sept, means 7, right? So we've got Sept, Oct, Noviembre, 9th month, and then Decembre, Deca, 10th. So we've got 7, 8, 9, and 10 respectively on the end of the calendar there. So it's funny that actually coincides with or corresponds to maintenance, oil and filter. What? Time for an oil change. That actually corresponds with the Chinese lunar. Get rid of the hat. Go uncapped. That corresponds with the Chinese lunar calendar. We're actually still in the 7th month. No. 2 or 3 days ago was the new moon. And so we have transitioned actually into the 8th moon of the year on the lunar agrarian calendar, the agricultural calendar, and we are well into autumn, which Beijing is a trip, meaning that it's uncannily accurate to the lunar calendar. For example, we're having hot summer months during the summer, and then Li Qiu, that's how you say start of autumn in Chinese. Literally, that night, the temperature will drop considerably, and that evening you'll have cool breezes that feel autumny and wintry. So, and it works like that all year round. When it says on the lunar calendar, when it says start of spring, the frozen Arctic winter-like temperatures end and breezes and rains start. And at each, there's 24 lunar segments that divide up the year. And at each one, I think that calendar was specifically designed for this region. And it was, in fact, according to the feng shui and the way things change. I mean, I've been here 20 years, and like every agricultural holiday on that lunar calendar, man, when it says what it says, this place does what it does. It's uncanny. Anyway, I've been thinking about some different things going around in the scuttlebutt on the AI-dominated intrawebs and all the Jabberwockies and magic juice proponents with their pseudoscience and invisible boogeymen have... It's like they're in a club. First, the governor came out and said, hey, Americans, my father was a Nazi, and our new Reich, the Fourth Reich, says screw your freedoms. And then another corporate shill, the old Howardo the Duck Stern man, came out and said the same thing, except for he said it in a little bit stronger terms. He said, fuck your freedoms. All the while, the once great state of Australia, with its spurious background narrative of so-called prisoners building the place, goes into total lockdown. And have you seen the gal? I forget who she is and what her name is and stuff, but good God, is she just the epitome of a Nazi regime. She came out and announced to the Australian people that they will comply and conform to the New World Order. She said it in those words, the New World Order, or that they will go to camps and be liquidated. So gnarly times, y'all. Gnarly, gnarly. No more gnarly than some of our parents and grandparents lived through under the last Great Reset and shuffling about that the MFers, the money funders, orchestrated in the last century. That was super gnarly too. But some of the greats who were engaged in the orchestration of that last resettling and historic narrative shifting said the 21st century would make the 20th century look like a cakewalk. So they're getting, they're well locked in for their power play. Wow. What can you do? I don't know. I mean, it was some of the greats like Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, who gave us advice stateside. And they were some of the only voices of reason that gave birth to one of the greatest documents in human history for human freedoms and liberties worldwide as a template. Jefferson wrote under Benjamin Franklin's guidance a lot of times. He was a very religious deist man. And old Benny Boy was more of a bon vivant, enjoyed Parisian culture, knew to play the part in order to secure the funds and help of the French monarch at the time to send the Navy so that they could cut off the empire of Britannia. But Benjamin, he was the type of guy that had a lot of inventions behind his name and put those into the public domain to benefit humanity. I know about Benjamin Franklin's published autobiography. I read it when I was a boy, and I've reread it several times throughout the different growth stages in my life. And who knows about the validity of it, but it's supposedly true. I mean, he wrote it himself. And he gives a pretty good accounting of how his life and how he grew up. And from day one, he worked towards creating benefit for the Commonwealth. Like, he solved the problem of lighting in the city streets of Philadelphia, where he lived as an apprentice to his brother. Main point is, they reiterated this phrase throughout various forms of their literature, which was he or she who would exchange liberty and freedom for safety shall have neither and deserves neither. So you can't give up that birthright endowed to you by the creator or creators, whichever you like, from your pantheon. You can't exchange that for any measure of safety. It doesn't work. I mean, and the atheistic pseudoscientists should agree on this point, that because they believe that it's all a matter of randomness. So how can you think that greater controls by a collective body of asshats and idiots is going to improve your chances with the randomness of the algorithms? I mean, it's illogical. And all of this done in the face of a dreaded what? BS narrative of some, again, invisible boogeyman that just ain't even real, man. It's the fear that they're playing on. And how do they rationalize the whole climate agenda of, oh, we need fewer, like Bill Gates came out and said he wants to get the human population part of the equation down to zero, meaning zero population growth, which is already happening. It's got nothing to do with Bill Gates anyway. It's already happening due to the structures that have been in place for over 100 years. But how do they say we want to get these growth numbers down to zero through the use of vaccines and contraception and abortion, and then at the same time they say they're trying to save humanity? It's like, if this boogeyman is so effective in its decimation of people, then why not just let it run its course? That would seem like that serves the greater narrative better, or the greater agenda, right? So why fight it? But when you take a critical look at anything that's going on in this whole grim fandango, you're gonna see immediately that it all goes counterintuitive to any kind of common sense. So that's all I got for you there. If you try to exchange your freedom and liberty for safety, you will have neither, and you deserve neither. Pushback. Thomas Paine wrote about civil disobedience and a healthy skepticism and resistance towards anyone that would promise you safety in exchange for your liberty. To push back against that, try to cultivate a sense of self-reliance and ways around it, at least. These guys they're fucking out of their goddamn minds. That's all I can say. That's all I can think. That's what I know. I see it in such stark clarity. Like, we could just use the infrastructures and road systems as an analogy. By the taking of public domain Commonwealth money and building these systems and saying, okay, we're gonna tax you to use them, we're gonna charge you to use them, and then they pay out above and beyond what it ever costs to build or maintain them, and all the while they let them go into disrepair, even though they're already paid for and making tons of money, and at the same time they continue to increase the rate you pay to use them. And it's like, what happened to all the money? What kind of plan is that? We're supposed to have paid for it so that we can use it, so that we don't have to keep paying for it. And not only that, the monies that you're getting to fund these things are already above and beyond what's reasonable. So I go back to the ancients and Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu abandoned society that he was in due to corruption. He rode away on his donkey into the west, into the hills of so-called wild lands at the time, The big problem is these days there aren't any frontiers left. There aren't any wild lands left, really. Those have all been shut down. And they're just the playgrounds of the elite now. So it's a big confusing morass of BS. And what are you gonna do? It's a little disheartening, but let's end this on a positive note. Here's there's the 5 Kwai for the guy. I roll up, no mask on. Wow, this guy's forgot that he's on the highway. I guess he stops. Yeah. So ended on a positive note with this. These challenges that we face now are no greater than the challenges that our parents and grandparents and great-grandparents faced. And it was the facing of those challenges that brought about our opportunity in youth to enjoy something better. And I can hardly live up to the level that my own father was or grandparents were in their diligent efforts to work towards our liberation. But every day we face new and increasingly alien controlled, and it is alien, it is an alien agenda. We face it on many fronts. And so that alone can give you the wake-up call each morning to prepare yourself with ritual and prayer, intermittent fasting, cherishing every moment of life with your beloved ones, and the love of the Godhead, the great force, the great all-pervading, omnipotent, omniscient force that motivates us into the wilds to face the challenge and to frolic with the horned gods and to sound the trumpet of truth. And yeah, to face off against this most insidious and dark alien, demonic alien force that we are faced with every single day. All right, rise to the challenge, right? Get it, get some daily. And remember, Frank Monday is always your well-wisher. And I love y'all good-looking, sexy people out in Happy Land. I will see you in the abodes of the future. As above, so below. As within, so without. Until next time, 再见.